third of our series of candidate forums for the 2023 election season. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kitsap, which is recording this event for later access. BCAT, Bremerton Kitsap Access Television, may air the tape at a later date. We would like to thank the Port Orchard City Government for allowing us use of this room. The League of Women Voters, which recently celebrated its 100th anniversary, is proud to be a nonpartisan organization, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties. We do support good governance and an educated electorate, which is why we sponsor these forums. We'd like to invite any of you age 16 and older to join our organization and help support our mission of empowering voters and defending democracy. We have invited candidates for Port Orchard Mayor to join us tonight. Please welcome Rob Putansu and Rollins May. We thank you for participating this evening and respect your willingness to commit to public service. From now on, please hold your applause until the end of the forum. Also, because we've made arrangements to broadcast the entire forum, we ask everyone to turn off cell phones and put away any recording devices. We know there is no guarantee that someone won't capture some video or audio without our knowledge. However, we hope you will cooperate in our attempts to ensure that information from the forum is not manipulated to create false or misleading impressions or used for campaign purposes. The public was invited to submit questions through the League's website. They are among the questions I will ask tonight. If you here in attendance have questions for the candidates, write them on the cards which League members have passed out to you. And please keep your questions short and, of course, respectful. And candidates, we expect the same from your responses. So candidates, let's get started. Here are the ground rules. Each of you, in rotating order, will have 60 seconds to respond to each question. If you have answered a question and there is time remaining, you may speak about a previous topic or clarify a statement. At the end of the forum, each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to make a closing statement. Our timekeeper, Carol Larson, will indicate to you when there are 30 seconds left and when your time is up. Tonight we will begin questions with Rob Putansu. Your first question: why should a voter choose you for mayor of Port Orchard? What special attributes will you bring to the job?
Well, my answer would be my personal and professional experiences. I moved here to Port Orchard with my family when I was a child in 1970. I went to school here, raised my family here. I worked professionally for more than 30 years in the banking industry. I managed a local branch of Columbia Bank, which is now Umpqua Bank. And while I was a council member for 2 terms, I served a couple years as a planning commissioner, as a matter of fact. And now I've served 8 years or 2 terms as Port Orchard's mayor. And I believe that I have a proven track record and the experience to do this job well.
Thank you. Rollins May.
Thank you guys for having me here tonight. And I actually like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for having me here tonight too. Without him, I couldn't do none of this. Having said that, I think you guys should choose me because I have over 25 plus years in management and supervisory experience. I moved up here from Louisiana in about 2005, finished high school here, got a college degree, started working in the downtown area, worked in the downtown area for about 10 years, ran my own business for about 5, small catering stuff. But other than that, just the passion for me to lead has always been just that opportunity that I've always been given. I've also have a background in military law enforcement combat, been teaching and practicing that for about 15, 20 years as well. Been practicing martial arts since I was about 15. and I'm at the age of 46 right now. And reason being is that it hasn't been a leadership role that I haven't been given that I've been able to not succeed at. So taking on an opportunity like this is something that weigh pretty heavy, and I can run with it and see what I can do.
Thank you. The next question will begin with you, Rollins. The voters' pamphlet states the mayor is the city's chief executive and administrative officer and presides over council meetings. How would you explain this in layman's terms?
In layman's terms, that job is being a manager, plain and simple.
Okay, thank you. Rob Putonson?
You are in Port Orchard, and most of the cities in Kitsap County, other than Bainbridge Island, you're the elected administrator of the city. I'm responsible. This year, we have a $100 million budget, and I'm responsible to ensure that we carry out the will of the city council. I was a council member at one time, which is the policymaker, the 7-member policy board. The mayor presides over their meeting, but I don't have a vote, except for rare exceptions when there's a tie. But I've yet to cast a vote at a city council meeting. But I'm the elected administrator. My role over at the city council meeting is to facilitate the meeting and then carry out the policy directives of the city council, whether I agree with them or not, and administer over the city.
Thank you. And we'll begin with you for the next question.
Okay.
As mayor, what would your top 3 budget priorities be?
Top 3, number 1 is, of course, transportation. We have a serious transportation challenges related to growth, and we're addressing that head on. And secondly, is crime and investing in our police department, and we're doing that, hiring police officers and investing in our police department significantly. And then I think third is our downtown redevelopment. We have got exciting things going on. When I moved here as a kid to when I became an adult, there have been half a dozen plans created and put on a shelf that have never been executed. And we have a plan and we're executing it. And the Public Facilities District gave us the first $12 million, and now we have $165 million in capital invested on our downtown, and I'm very proud of that. And only 7% of those dollars are local dollars.
Thank you. Rollins?
At 3?
Yes. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay. As mayor, what would be your top 3 budget priorities?
I think the very first budget priority would possibly have to be, I would say, our infrastructure, and I mean basic infrastructure with just utilities and roads, just basic repair things to keep the city moving. I mean, it's almost like, you know, you want your things at home to run the same when you get home. You want to be able to turn the lights on and off. You want to be able to flush your toilet, just to make things clear with that. The second thing would be, I would say, our homeless situation, because with the homeless, you know, we got all these projects going on and all these upcoming things that's happening, all this money being spent. But if we can't control the homeless situation, it would be all these new dwellings that we're going to have. It's just going to be a new safe haven for the homeless people to go if we can't analyze and see what's actually going on with our people beforehand. You know, transportation would be one of those things that you can probably be added to that will create another safe haven for the homeless in general.
Thank you. Next question is, how should the mayor respond to the homeless crisis? And that goes to you, Rollins.
Well, picking up where I left off, I think resource centers would be the first to get funding together, build a resource center so we can put the homeless in one place and really see what's going on, you know, so far as mental disposition, so far as if they're not financially educated, and if they have medical issues, if drug and alcohol abuse, and just to have complete awareness with what actually is going on with each individual beforehand. That way we can really focus and use the money on what is priority with the people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rob?
It's a serious problem, but a complex issue. And there's a housing crisis, there's addiction issues, there's mental illness. And on the addiction and mental illness side of the equation, the legislature invested a significant amount of money this last session into those resources that are just beginning to be deployed. But there needs to be much, much more. And I'm going to continue to advocate in Olympia for more resources for drug dependency issues and mental illness. My biggest frustration on this front is the county is collecting a 0.1% sales tax for affordable housing for nearly 2 years, and we're not seeing any significant. They're very their process. It's just we're not seeing those dollars being deployed the way they need to be, in my opinion.
Thank you. Right along the same lines, what is your stance on affordable housing, and how do you plan to make housing more accessible for all income levels? Go to you, Rob.
Okay, we're whether we want to be or not, we're the 7th fastest growing city in the state right now, this past year, and I think we'll be in the top 10 again this next year. We need to see. We're seeing a lot. We've put the zoning in place, but the market needs to drive this. We're seeing a lot of single-family dwellings. We're seeing a lot of apartment buildings, but we're not seeing the missing middle, which is the triplexes, the duplexes, the townhomes. The Village in McCormick Woods, their developer out there is going to build some of that product type around the Village near our park out there. And I think we need to see more builders building that missing middle housing.
Thank you. Rollins?
Can I get the question one more time?
Yes. Here we go. What is your stance on affordable housing, and how do you plan to make housing more accessible for all incomes?
It's kind of a tough one, but to make it simple, I would think housing projects would have to be put on the back burner until inflation rates go down, where people can actually afford to live. I don't think you can have teenagers and young adults working at fast food restaurants being able to pay for a $1,500 dwelling unit with 1 bedroom. And with the way rates are going right now, you can't get a 2-bedroom house for less than $2,200 or more. So I think in that aspect, in order to do something about that, I think those projects need to cease until the budget and the money gets right, so that people can be comfortable with the way we spend before we put that money into something that we can't afford.
Thank you. The Givens Center was once a hub of constant community gatherings, largely because of its low-cost rental spaces. There was even a newsletter mailed out to all the city's households advertising free or low-cost events. Our new community center won't be built for another 3 to 5 years. In the meantime, how can you, as a leader, create abundant opportunities for people to meet and deeply connect, beyond the handful of events that Port Orchard offers now? How can you or our Port Orchard leaders help the city recapture that aliveness and sense of community it once had in the near future? And I can read that again. It's kind of long if you'd like me to. The Givens Center was once a hub of constant community gatherings, largely because of its low-cost rental spaces. There was even a newsletter mailed out to all the city's households advertising free or low-cost events. Our new community center won't be built for another 3 to 5 years. In the meantime, how can you, as a leader, create abundant opportunities for people to meet and deeply connect, beyond the handful of events that Port Orchard offers now? How can you, our Port Orchard leaders, help the city recapture that aliveness and sense of community it once had in the near future? And Rollins, you're first for this one.
I would think with the Givens Community Center existing and the new community center coming, I don't know the budget for it, but I think it's around like $30 million or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But in the meantime, in 3 to 5 years, when I take the existing community center, put money into it, since it has, to me, looking at that building, it has a historical value for the town. People still gather there, they have meetings there, they held sports activities there. I think a little bit more money could go into the current community center that we already have until it's safe enough to put a new community center in. I mean, within 3 and 5 years, couldn't we get together as a community and raise enough money to build on the same or rebuild on the same property that the existing community center is already owned, remodernize?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rob?
Well, first, the Given Center isn't a city facility, it's a county
Not
facility.
anymore. That's
Yes,
right, once
it's-
it was sold, yeah.
Yeah, and it never was a city facility. It was a school that then the county purchased and is repurposed as a community center. And I think it still has a role in our community. But I think until we have a community center, I think it's our parks and gathering on our parks and activities. When our splash pad, which has been refurbished and with a recirculating system and was just completed, the gatherings and the families and the picnic spaces that we have out at McCormick Village Park. We refurbished the tennis courts at Van Zee, and I see all kinds of people every day of the week gathering and playing pickleball out there. We tend to invest in the Givens play fields too. We've got a grant to do that. And it won't just be the community center, it's the plaza and the open space around that between the bank and the event center. So there's all kinds of opportunity.
Thank you. What is your plan to encourage more businesses to locate in downtown Port Orchard? How would you assist downtown business if elected? And that goes to you, Rob.
Certainly. We have made a significant investment. 25% of our downtown is going to get redeveloped. We've got a new corporate headquarters coming. It's going to create opportunity. We've got $165 million of the capital coming into downtown Port Orchard. This is unprecedented. And it's federal money, it's state money, it's private capital. We've got housing being built. And we need more housing being built downtown. We need more people living downtown in mixed-use development. So it's going to take a few years, but we've got really, really exciting things going on in our downtown.
Okay, thank you. Rollins?
I need to get the question one more time.
Sure. What is your plan to encourage more businesses to locate in downtown Port Orchard? How would you assist downtown businesses if elected?
I would more than likely be in the present for the downtown businesses in a manner to where, in order to get businesses to come downtown anyway, it has to be redone. I mean, like the planning over the years, it seems like it's just been plans and nothing really executed. So with all the money that is coming in, it could be to make the downtown area more attractive and more appealing for new business owners to come in to want to actually put a business in an area that look like it's worth putting a business in. If the area doesn't look like it's worth putting a business there, then why put a business there if it doesn't look visually able to hold a business? And that's where it's at.
That's okay. Thank
I saw
you.
you smile, so I smiled.
Oh, that's a good thing. Smiles are great.
It is.
Thank you, Rollins. The next question, and we'll begin with you, Rollins. Do you feel the city has adequate infrastructure, such as roads, parking, water, and sewer, to accommodate the influx of people brought by the many apartment buildings being constructed on the outskirts of Port Orchard? If not, how do you propose to pay for improvements?
Well, we are growing at a super fast rate, so in order for us to grow responsibly and respectably, I would think whenever it's time for the funding to come in, we put it in the right places. And as so far as the city's infrastructure right now, it's obvious that we do not, to a degree, because if the money is there and the planning is there and the money is expected to come in, then it should be used where it's very important and it's for basic daily operation. And I think that's the only way that it can actually be prepared to perform and prepare for the growth that's already here and coming even more, whether we like it or not.
Thank you. Rob?
Okay, sewer and water capacity has to exist, or we can't issue the building permit. And we saw a case of that a number of years back when a moratorium was put in place in McCormick Woods. Development happened faster than we were prepared for, and we had to catch up. Transportation's a little different animal, and that it's a bit backwards, the tool that the legislature has provided us. We've got traffic impact fees, which are some of the highest in the area at $5,000 per home. But we can't collect that until the building permit's been issued. And so then we need to amass enough of those then to build those capacity improvements. The other tool that the council passed, which came from a state law about a year and a half ago, was the ability for the council to pass a 1/10 sales tax measure to fund transportation improvements, and they did that, and we have a plan then to address the Bethel corridor with a pair of roundabouts from that.
Okay. This goes to Rob to begin with. What projects in Port Orchard over the past 4 years do you think made the biggest difference, and why?
I'm going to take that window a little larger to my 8 years as I've been the mayor. To start with, the Tremont project, a $23 million gateway project that we cobbled together numerous grants and awards and only $6 million in local money, and that is a tremendous, beautiful roadway. McCormick Village Park, Rockwell Park, the pedestrian pathway. And then we've got plans for the community center and all the things that we're doing there. And then we've been planning and are about to execute on significant transportation improvements along the Bethel corridor.
Thank you. Rollins?
Question one more time.
Sure. What projects in Port Orchard over the past 4 years do you think made the biggest difference, and why?
I think, honestly, from my personal perspective, I haven't seen any. I mean, the thing with the roundabout over by Tremont, visually it looks nice, and I think it made the traffic flow just a little bit. Like putting those roundabouts in the right places makes sense, but putting them for the sake of putting them when something as simple as widening a road could have been easier or a little bit less cost effective than the plans for all the roundabouts that is expected to come in the near future. And when the basic road construction or the basic road repairs could have been done first, I think still it comes down to a point to where we have to see something visually in order to understand this is where the money is going. It's a lot of, seems like a push for these development projects that we see, but is it really something that has been a major benefactor when, sorry, she put the stop sign.
You can finish your sentence.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Rollins. Let's see what our time is here. Okay. I'm going to go to this one. Walking seems to be winning in Port Orchard. If you support additional walking paths, where would you want to see them? Or if you do not support additional paths, why not?
I think it's about the direction of the path. I mean, you don't want to put walking paths in where people live. And being out in the community here and there, I've been hearing this term that I've never heard of, but I guess it's a thing, and it's called eminent domain. And when I did some research on it and found out what it was, it's not a secret. It's something that's been going on for a very long time, but I was naive to the fact because I don't get into a lot of political discussions. But when it's something like that, I would think you would have to redirect a project that way to where it won't affect someone's living or someone's home. Like, I don't think that would just be like a bad thing to do to somebody before you do that. But putting walking paths in the right place is what we need so far as the downtown area goes, because that's what you want. You want the walking traffic to drive sales for smaller businesses, and then with the parking, because some places that you have areas where you can walk is adequate parking and the small businesses thrive.
Thank you. Rob?
I think they're one of the most highly used assets that we build, and we need more of them. And we built one segment of the pathway. We have plans to build another segment. We're already planning for the pathway going west, which will take us from the ferry terminal across our waterfront this direction, up Port Orchard Boulevard, and out to tie in with Tremont. Our streets that we're planning for on Bethel are complete streets. They'll have bike paths, wide sidewalks. We're planning for multimodal paths in McCormick Woods. So we need to get out of our cars if we can, and we need safe means to do that. And so we need more trails, pathways, sidewalks to be able to walk in our community and recreate that way.
Thank you. And before we do our last question here, I have two questions from the audience. One of these is really directed to just one of our candidates. So I would suggest that you speak to him after the forum is over, please. And the other one I believe we've addressed. So we'll move on to our last question for you. Beginning with Rob, what's your future vision of Port Orchard?
I believe we're executing it. In the downtown redevelopment, the widening, the transportation improvements on Bethel, improvements to our parks, the pathways. So during my tenure as mayor, I believe that I've presented a vision. I've communicated to the community, to the city council. The city council, through our retreat and engagement process, have bought into the vision that I've presented, and what we're executing downtown is transformational, and I'm so excited about it.
Okay, thank you. Rollins?
Vision would first to be a part of the new leadership of the city, to actually have a beautiful downtown setting, to which that's what we all want. We want something nice to come home to. The vision is in the near future, to have a real nice manicured city. We have a lot of overgrowth that we just need to run a lawnmower and a weed eater around the edge. So some things, right? Get some people to pick up some trash, just to envision a clean city more than anything. Put the money where we can get brooms and sweep up the roads, make it look nice again. When you come down Bethel, you don't want to see trash. When you go through Port Orchard Boulevard, you don't want to see overgrowth. You get ready to hit Highway 3. You want to see open businesses. You want to see the edge of the waterfront. You want to have a visual, something that you'll be proud of whenever you get off work and before you get ready to come home. You want to be able to have that aha moment whenever you get here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now is the time for final thoughts and responses, candidates. You will each have 90 seconds to give your closing statement. And we will begin with you, Rollins. Go ahead and take your water there. That's okay. No hurry.
Final statement. I would have to say I'm here solely for the purpose of coming in to be a leader, to be a part of something bigger than myself, to be able to put myself out there as a concerned citizen, because I'm not a politician, and that's not my expertise. My expertise is customer service, and I've been doing it for a long time. My interests lie in being able to be there as often as I can, when I can, 100%. If this is a full-time job, it's not a full-time job that I don't know how to do, that I've been given an opportunity to do. So coming in with an open mind and being prepared to be a part of a good, positive group of people that's going to be able to put their heads together and all be on the same page, totally be completely as transparent as the term itself, and then get out and just shine, just be able to turn our little city, this little oasis we call Port Orchard, turn it into something popular, something where we get people to come in, spend their money, and turn around and go home, and then make them come back every weekend. And that's where I'm at. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rollins. Rob?
I've spoke a bit to some of the significant things we've done under my leadership as mayor, and but it's not just me. It's the team we've assembled, and the support of the city council is so important. But the Tremont Gateway project, you know, the McCormick Village Park, the pathway, we've accomplished so many great things in the last 8 years, and we've got meaningful plans. We've got such an exciting future, and it just energizes me to continue for this next 4 years and maybe beyond, if the voters will have me. It is so exciting what we've started downtown, and it's so unprecedented. The $165 million coming from outside partners. I've become very adept at whether it be federal or state or getting money from outside agencies, because the issues that we have to solve are much bigger than the resources we have here in Port Orchard. And if you're not engaged at the state level, at the federal level, or regionally, we're not going to get things done. And I've proven that I have the ability to get other people's money, to present a vision, to execute those plans, and create a very exciting future for our community.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. It's not easy to do this. I've been up there myself before, and it takes a lot of courage to get up and do that, so really appreciate that. Voters, hopefully, this forum has helped you choose your candidate. Ballots for the general election will be out by October 20th, so watch for those. If they don't get to your mailbox, please call. And the election is the 7th of November this year. The League is encouraging you to vote early and return your ballot promptly. So thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it.